Hey y'all, this is Sung here, and I'm going to show you what took me 10 years to learn about navigating corporate politics and persuading people to get what I want, and more importantly, persuading them to see it's what they want too. If you're new to me, you're probably thinking, who the heck is this guy and why should I listen to him? Well, I have made tens of thousands of dollars being a top mentor on mentorcruise.com, giving the same type of advice. And so I'm very confident I know what I'm talking about here. At the end of this video, I want you to walk away with three things. I want to make your soft skills feel like hard skills. You're going to understand the limits of being merit only and how you think about your career and how to break past those limits beyond thinking through a promotion cycle. 2 is how to recognize patterns to create straight talk moments. And 3, how to apply it with a very real life example in this past year that I've lived through. And so this video isn't for everyone. This is for those of you that are 5 to 10 years in your career and are very good at what you do. You could have a title that looks and feels like this, but in leaders' eyes, you're undeniably useful. You probably even use the phrase, I'm undeniable, unironically. And if people look at your work, they go like, yeah, that's true. Not just leaders, but your fellow teammates. And I'm going to use the power leveling system of Super Saiyan as it relates to Dragon Ball Z. And for those of you that don't know this, Google it and figure it out because it should be part of your headcanon by this point in the year 2026. All right. But the overall point of this is to show you're probably someone who's self-taught, who grinded through, who went through the promotion cycles, and you feel really good about yourself. You're feeling yourself. You're all the way to Super Saiyan 3. And you get to a certain point where you're in the trenches enough doing, the actual work, where you're able to just pattern match just very organically, right? Because you're already doing that in order to get this far ahead in life so far. And you get to a point where it's like, hey, I want to be able to say these things and be taken seriously. And so if you're in startup land like me, you probably have said something like this, or if, hey, we need to focus on stability and UI UX before adding new features because customers are churning or people are looking at our product during trials and are kind of like, ooh, it's not that very polished. You want to say, hey, I recommend, we build this new feature because customers and prospects keep asking for it. Or you say, hey, I'm noticing this latent demand and parsing first principles from them, and it's going to crystallize into this, and that's what's going to help, sell more deals or get our product analytics looking in proper shape. But you notice it kind of falls on deaf ears. Even if you do this really well, like public speaking wise across different mediums, one-on-ones, group meetings, you're kind of like, how come there's no traction being made here? And you kind of know this where it's like, oh, I don't have the political capital. I may not be seen as you're valuable according to leaders because you're not sanctioned by them, right? You're not a middle manager plus, or you have that kind of hierarchy by design to give you that baseline political capital. It kind of feels like you're starting from zero every single time because most of the time you are, no matter how useful you actually are. And you think to yourself, okay, in order to get into this game and be seen as valuable, I have to either be promoted or just like start talking with power talk, right? So think things like HBO Succession kind of dialogue where people are saying, hey, what's the temperature of this room? Or, essentially saying phrases where you're not kind of meaning what you say. Everything is centered on the subtext of what's being said. In order to achieve this, you just need group consensus from people in authority to bless you, right? To kind of knight you to be in that position where your words really do have weight. And if you're anything like me a couple of years ago, it's like, hey, is this the only path? It is one viable one, right? And I don't think we should besmirch it. But what's really interesting, I've kind of lucked into this and have just seen it role modeled around me. There's a way to bypass this track and short circuit it. Not to say that, hey, you should completely not invest in this track. It's to say there is a better way that's already congruent with your skill set. And that's the second thing here. That's going ultra instinct. This is a bit more niche, and so I'm going to give a primer here. When Goku wants to level up, he's realizing screaming with all his chest and training his muscles isn't getting him where he wants to get to that next level of you're valuable. And so he bypasses that instead of training his psychological state. His mind, body, and heart just feel like they're in sync, right? He's just in that flow state in a sense and is able to pick up on idiosyncrasies. He's able to not just throw a powerful punch, but throw it at the right time, at the right place, at the right angle, at all the right nuances where it's just like, whoa, where did this come from? And this is where you're able to kind of use your pattern matching muscles to notice and weave in kind of honest, straight talk moments with people. And that's where leaders can go like, whoa, you're compelling. Whoa, I value your perspective, your taste. That's the big buzzword of the past year or so. And because you want to get to a place where you mean what you say and say what you mean. What's really cool about this is you don't necessarily have to orchestrate these moments to make this happen. You just have to notice when someone is in the right time, at the right place, in the right mood to have this have maximum impact. And that's where this book comes in, Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. And this is just illustrating her time at Facebook as it was kind of like the golden child of like big tech. She was the director of global public policy, just helping Facebook be implemented in like different nations and be compliant in regulations, all that fun stuff. But it's one of those things where it's like the stories here really make the adage feel true, fact is stranger than fiction. And that's really crystallized in just how much Mark loved board games like Catan. And so I'm going to focus on the vignettes illustrated in that book. But the core story is this. They are in Indonesia or some nation. And then Mark just suggests, like with the team that's there, that includes Sarah, hey, let's play Catan because I really love it and let's just have a fun time. And Sarah in the back of her head is she's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do this. This is going to be so much fun. I'm so good at this. I can't wait to win, right? But she notices as she's playing with these people that a lot of her fellow teammates are just letting him win. And so I imagine it looks like it's late game in Catan and they're trading their precious ore for his dumb sheep. And she's like, what the heck is going on? That makes no sense. Or two, they're putting the robber on places that get in the way of Mark winning the game. And then she just calls it out straight. She's like, hey, Mark, these people are just letting you win. Don't you see what's going on? And they're just like, no way, we're not doing that. And for her, she's like just trying to speak honest about what's going on, right? Not to just like be a party pooper for its own sake, but it's like, that's not the fun way to play. Probably not for him. But what Mark sees is like, hey, Sarah, you're just the party pooper, right? You're the odd person out. We're all just having a fun time. This is the seedling for another moment to come. So imagine this parallel is like, hey, you addressing your leader of like, hey, I want XYZ feature implemented. And they're like, nah, these people are telling me that's not worth our time. Let's move on. Later on, she gets another chance. I think it's on like Mark's private jet where she gets to play again. But this time she says to him like, hey, I won't let you win. Is that okay? And here, I'm going to get really specific and break down how she's behaving and how it maps to a generalized framework you can apply and that I've literally applied in my own life. And so it looks like this. Step one, she said, hey, I'm not going to let you win. You're predicting the future. She's naming a pattern up front. She's recognizing a pattern of, hey, anyone who beats him must be cheating. She's recognizing a mental model that he's anchored to. So she's recognizing there's an acute pain that has a potential to be chronic. She wins again, and he's like, you definitely cheated. And so notice the tone shift where he's making this more explicit. There's more, inciting a more emotional resonance with him. And then she just like calls out really plainly like, hey, you had multiple ways to win. And just like show on the board, hey, here's what's going on. She's diagnosing very plainly, firmly. And then she notices her time. And part of this is just like organic. Part of this is just like twitch muscles. She's saying like, hey, you're so focused on like winning every single battle, you forget the war. It's like you're missing the forest for the trees. What she's doing is addressing, hey, these tiny behaviors and moments point to a bigger thing thematically. That your philosophy, your strategy is the root cause of you experiencing this pain. That's why you lost. This is where he just comes out and kind of reciprocates like, hey, give me an example. Like, hey, I'm willing to play this game with you. And she's ready for this mutual dance, right? Because it's very explicit. And then she essentially goes on to say, hey, here's a very practical example that went on with like internet.org. You were so hell-bent on calling it free internet that the initiative never even happened in the first place. And we could have gotten everything we wanted except for the name, but you were so hell-bent on it, we lost everything. What she does here is she offers a really plain, firm recommendation. It's tempting to think, oh, hey, is anything I say going to be perceived as a character assassination? No, not if you just have like a really clear example and just break it down and how it ties to his thinking. You notice here, she makes it really easy to generalize this of, hey, if you keep doing this, yeah, we're going to win all these battles, but we're going to lose every war that matters. And then right after that, there's a risk here. Right? This isn't just like this perfect silver bullet experience because other people are there. This is a kind of a group meeting in a sense because other people are there. There's a mix of envy, resentment. People are ready to counteract to rescue his ego. But what's really interesting about this is they can't make the first move. They have to wait for Mark to react so that they play to his tempo. And he's like, that's fair. And you notice right afterwards in this book, he talks straight about legacy. Because you notice that this has impacted his understanding of his own identity. There's been some metacognition work that's taken place. And now because of what Sarah said, Mark has new mental models as he talks about his legacy going forward. And so she got what she wanted, where it wasn't just about, hey, this like key initiative let's prevent a failure like this again. But she changed how he thinks about the world. And that's the part of what makes someone compelling. Hey, I have to change who I am based off this information you gave me, or else I'm missing out. Now, you're probably wondering, like, hey, what's a real life example look like? Because this feels like a very lucky moment. Because it is. It is a lot about noticing when good luck happens to you and then weaving the pattern your way to make sure the luck is in your favor. And now that you have this framework, I'm going to apply it to my own personal life during my time working at Tobiko. I was selling a data engineering tool called SQL Mesh that essentially helps you take gibberish data, massage it with a language called SQL, and turn it into really clean data for analysis. Things like revenue by month, fun stuff like that. And I was selling and trialing it to a DBT Power user, which is our main competitor at the time, which is a very household name. And about halfway through this trial, I realized, hey, we're not going to get the technical win with these folks because the learning curve is too hard, right? I'm just noticing they keep getting death by 1,000 paper cuts. And when I posted this in our internal Slack, we were like, oh, just give it a good faith effort. And that's what I did. And I just documented that journey every step of the way. But it wasn't until about 90% towards the end of it where I heard the prospect just tell me straight up, hey, Sung, when things go wrong in DBT, our main competitor, I know exactly what to do. When things go wrong in SQL Mesh, I have no idea where to start. And oh my gosh, that just ripped my heart open. I was like, what do I do with that, right? Because this person was right. And it was just a tough kind of truth pill to swallow. And then when we officially had the conversation, I don't know if it was in that meeting or right after, or I was like, hey, is there any way we can get a technical win with you guys, right? To feel confident that this is the solution for you? They said, no, it's not where it needs to be. And that's where the rest of this framework takes place. I just pulled a Hail Mary, right? This is part luck, right? Where I was like, hey guys, we just lost this deal. XYZ leaders, can you talk right now about this? Here's this mini essay about what I just noticed. And they're like, let's do it. And so in the moment we have this ad hoc meeting with the leaders. I just named this very recent and acute pain of, hey guys, you notice this trend of they just kept coming back to, hey, you have really cool features, but this pain, it just adds too much friction to the experience. And then they were like, hey, did you try this? Did you try that? Did you try this? Don't they know how much more technically, superior SQL Mesh is? Yeah, they believe it. You're preaching to the choir there, but it's too hard to use for them coming back to this. And I just diagnosed it really plain of hey, notice here, when things go wrong here, notice this screenshot of the error message. Hey, when they tried this, it was really opaque what SQL Mesh was doing at this point or at this point. And when they were trying to do something even complicated, they're like, oh, they're a bit scared to press enter on the terminal, right? And it's because, hey, we're so used to developing power tools for the upper end of the spectrum, we forget that there's a spectrum of just skill and even willingness to learn these new things just because the incumbent has already ingrained it in them. Why can't we follow the groove of the mental models that already exist today? I know this goes against your idea of, hey, let's just only level up people. We have to also meet people where they're at too. And they're like, hey, besides this example, give me another example, right? Is this just a one-off example? It's no. Remember when we tried to sell this to another intern at another household name and it failed? Again, it was the same themes of, hey, UI UX is not that good and learning curve is too hard. This is where I just offered the plain term recommendation, hey, we're missing the forest for the trees. In order to help people get better, we have to meet them where they're at. And here are the two ways to do it. We should add a very clear kind of explain plan of a preview of, hey, it's similar to Terraform, if you guys are in the DevOps world of, hey, this is exactly what we're going to destroy and create or mutate before you even press enter, right? / hey, when people are new to it, help them onboard without having to have them reach it for 30 minutes reading docs as their first entry point or having to have a human hold their hand every step of the way to feel like they're going in the right direction. And then from there are a couple other engineers in that meeting. And so it's kind of there's some moments of pregnant pauses of tension. But they're essentially hey, that's fair. What should we do? And that's when I was just locked and loaded to make that happen with them. And then going forward, the first immediate kind of recommendation came to fruition was this explain plan. And so what this essentially did in the SQL Mesh world, even if you're not technical, this is the premise of what it's solving for. Is hey, in terms of, hey, this is exactly what it's going to do. It's going to directly change the existing SQL that you had here. It's going to indirectly affect this downstream. Hey, what does that mean in plain terms? Hey, we're going to validate the SQL first. We're going to dry run the query. We're going to create a table if it doesn't exist. Same thing, so on and so forth downstream. right? And this is something that, is not intuitive to a lot of people. And until the founders actually prioritize making this, they're like, oh, now I see, right? Because they realize this makes it easier for them too. Another kind of knock-on effect of this was we were able to make onboarding a lot easier for newcomers that fit the profile of the people we just lost, right? With something called flow mode. Or essentially like, hey, when someone writes SQL mesh init, that's when we're able to get like this menu option that guides them every step of the way. Beforehand, it was someone that looked like me or my teammate Avzal that literally had to handhold every single data engineer of, hey, do this, or you have to copy and paste this config to look like this, this, and this. And all of that just gone in an instant when we release this feature. And so I name all this because you notice in this kind of experience, I didn't do any fancy backchanneling. I didn't rely on corpo speak. I didn't do all this hedging. I just noticed when it was the right time and right place and right posture for everyone involved to just have honest straight talk, to just have a human moment of mutual interest, right? That it's not just about me complaining or trying to pseudo assassinate people's characters or intelligence. It's just naming, hey guys, we messed up and there's a way to fix this. And I hope you get to live out stories like this too. And in my next video, I'm going to share a lot more practical stories. All right, peace.